Hi there. Welcome back to Makilala, which means get to know in Tagalog. It is the first Filipino-American TV talk show in the New York metropolitan area. I am Jen, and my gorgeous co-hosts are Maria, Rochelle, and Christina. We have an interesting segment for you today. People to get to know, hence Makilala, and new things to explore. Kind of wonder, why should I stay tuned? Well, almost all of us know someone who's sick with diabetes, heart disease, or on dialysis treatment. And I don't know about you, but growing up in the Philippines back in the Jurassic years, which Christina could probably back me up on, children used to play patintero outdoors. Nowadays, they're hooked into their computer, smartphones, on Facebook, or watching cable TV 24/7. But there's no time to exercise, let alone enjoy the great outdoors. Oh, and this one's a big one. We Filipinos love to eat. We love kamayan, bibingka, lechon, fiesta. But sometimes you kind of wonder, is it possible to have Pinoy healthy eating and living in the neighborhood? So joining us in our conversation is someone who has 12 years experience in public health, a graduate of UCLA and Columbia University, has been recognized multiple times for her outstanding community leadership, petite, soft-spoken, yet powerhouse co-founder and executive director of Kalusugan Coalition, a nonprofit community-based organization that addresses the health issues of Filipinos in New Jersey and New York. I am pleased to welcome our new friend, Ms. Rhodora Ursua. Hi, Rhodora. Welcome to Makilala.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's nice to have you here. I guess my question is, Filipino and healthy eating, is that possible given our culture and tradition?
Right, so it's very possible. A lot of our work really revolves around encouraging community members to be healthy, while acknowledging that there are a lot of cultural dishes that do tend to be unhealthy, like you had mentioned lechon and things like that. And we tell them, you know, those things are hopefully only during big celebrations, and it is more in moderation that we eat those unhealthy types of foods because we know it's part of our culture. But then if we think about, you know, what did our grandparents eat back in the Philippines, you know, if they were raised on a farm and how they had organic vegetables and they ate a lot of seafood. I mean, take my grandmother, for instance, who lived till she was 95 years old. And my father would tell me that you know, she ate seafood and vegetables her whole life, and that's how she stayed healthy for so long and lived that long. And so,
what did your grandmother die of? What kind of risk factor did she suffer from?
I didn't know that grandma as well, but I think, because you know, sometimes when you meet people, they say, "Oh, she just died of old age." You know, people will say that, right? And I think that's what happened with my grandmother. And so, whereas we often hear now that there are people who are, you know, getting heart attacks at early ages, like now even in their late 30s, and that's so scary. And so,
I think Filipino Americans are really predisposed to certain health conditions like obesity, heart issues, and what else? Diabetes. Diabetes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
A lot
so
of
what is Kalusugan doing to educate Filipinos about those conditions?
Right.
How to prevent those conditions?
So we have this wonderful model we use where it's community health workers, very similar to what's happening in the Philippines with the barangay health workers, who they go out to the rural areas and they bring health services to folks who can't access the healthcare system. So we're using that model here in an urban setting where the community health workers do a lot of health education and outreach and link with community members who may not know how to navigate the healthcare system. So imagine a lot of the new immigrants who come here, and we know that there are a lot of undocumented immigrants, for instance, who just think that they can't access the healthcare system because of fear of, you know, being reported, or fear that they have to report their status when they don't, of course. And so
what areas of New York, or are you just New York? Like, what areas does Kalusugan Coalition serve?
We serve mostly the New York area. We have partners in New Jersey that we work closely with that have trained the community health workers there to do similar work as what our health workers are doing here, to do that outreach education and a lot of the navigation of the healthcare system. But mostly the New York area, and we're based in Woodside, Queens, which has the highest concentration of the Filipino community in New York, but serve a lot of the other pockets within Queens and other parts of New York City now.
Before we get further along, can you explain why Kalusugan and what Kalusugan means and why coalition?
Yeah, so our co-founders came together 8 years ago and decided that we wanted to call ourselves Kalusugan Coalition because Kalusugan means health in Tagalog. And we decided we needed to be a coalition because we know that health does not occur in a vacuum. And so even our co-founders come from different sectors. It wasn't just health practitioners. It wasn't just, academic researchers. It was, folks who were in the arts, who did cultural arts work or who did public, who did a lot of media type of work or other immigrant rights types of activists. And so it wasn't, health practitioners, but also students as well. And so it's great that they all helped us reach out to other segments of the community. So we engage a lot of the faith-based organizations because we know the Filipino community, everyone goes to church on Sundays, and that's the greatest way to reach the communities through the different church bases.
How many organizations are in your coalition?
So there's at least 50 partners that we work closely with, and that includes a lot of the faith-based groups, cultural groups, a lot of the regional associations, community organizations, and then a lot of individuals as well.
How do you manage to do that? I mean, somebody said that Filipinos have like kanya-kanya or what do you call that?
Tribalistic.
Tribalistic thing, and yet you have all these 50 organizations that come together and be partners.
I actually see Rhodora as a connector in the community. Even like with the young professional organizations, including Unipro, like you have helped us tremendously, giving us like office space, and that alone is a blessing. So,
So would you say like Kalusugan is not? I don't know. I've also met you like for bullying discussions and like people.
And Christina met you at
we met in
DC
DC at an immigration rally.
So it's like Kalusugan is a cover, like
There's so many issues within
like
Kalusugan.
Exactly.
It's not only health.
It's like Filipino health.
Yeah, why health has nothing to do with
Because
immigration.
it's a cross-cutting issue, right? And all the different sectors. And it's, even when we first formed, we had a community brunch. And it was kind of like our forum as a way to launch our earlier initiatives. And we had brought together all the different leaders of the community. And I remember people would just voice why they wanted to be involved. And they would say things like, what you had mentioned, that, it's easy for me to want to support a heart health program for Filipinos because my own father died of a heart attack. We'd hear all these personal stories that were unfortunately very common. And so it was just an easy issue to get behind. And so that's how we're able to engage all these different sectors, because they personalize it a lot. And it really is the work of our community health workers. I mean, they're a very special workforce that, yes, they're trained to address health needs, but their key qualities are that they're from the community, they're trusted by the community, they know how to access these different segments of the community that tend to fall through the cracks of the healthcare system.
How do you recruit like your worker, like the health workers?
A lot of it has been referrals from like the different community organizations and social service groups or regional associations. And so, and also just folks who had volunteered with us, that was a nice way to learn, who naturally had those talents to serve the community and really connect with a lot of community members and have just that care and compassion.
When you say health, does it include mental health, like depression?
Definitely. And when our community health workers first talk to community members, and for instance, they're doing a blood pressure screening, and then you'll find that person might have high blood pressure. A lot of times you'll hear they'll attribute to stress, and they'll talk about the hardships that they endure just being separated from their families back home in the Philippines. Right?
There was a young girl in Queens that recently committed suicide because of depression. I did not hear from any Filipino community when that issue came about. Was there any initiative from Kalusugan on how to, I don't know, maybe reaching out to the family or reaching out to the school? I don't know.
Yeah.
Was there anything that
it was great actually that it was Rochelle's organization, Unipro, that connected us to Maria to begin a dialogue.
Really? Oh, okay.
Yeah, to begin a dialogue about, we couldn't of course get into the specifics of the case, but the dialogue was more about how can we prevent things like this from happening in the future? How can we ensure that the schools know that there are these community organizations that do have services that are culturally appropriate, that can provide support for families through times like this, or groups who do a lot of youth development type of work, right? Or groups that just you know, can teach families about communication and how to open those lines of communication.
And do people come to you? Do young people come to you when they have problems?
There are other groups that do more youth work than we do, but we are, because of a new initiative that we just had recently, which is a play street, which is very geared towards young children. That's kind of opening our doors now to serve different age groups, especially the young people.
I love that you actually mentioned Play Street because Jen and I were lucky enough to experience it firsthand. And I think it's actually one of the best initiatives I have seen in a long, long time. So I hope it still continues. Can you explain a little bit what Play Street is for everyone else?
Right. So a play street is a way where you can provide an open, safe space for children and families and adults who live in the area, a lot of local residents mostly, to really just be physically active. And we know that, I mean, like what you were mentioning, a lot of youth nowadays are, you know, they're using all of their mobile devices and just a lot of the electronics and playing video games. When, you know, when we grew up, we were playing in the streets. You know, I remember growing up, and I would play with the neighborhood kids in the street, and we would throw a ball around or whatever it was. And so, but kids aren't doing that right now, but partially because there isn't a lot of access to open space. I mean, even where we're located in Woodside, you know, there's a few parks here and there, 63rd and Roosevelt, but there's not a whole lot of parks and open green space for kids to just run around. And, you know, they're beautiful tree-lined streets, but, you know, there's a lot of cars that go through there. And so the city allows it that if there's an organization that wants to sponsor a play street, they can get a permit, go through a whole application process, and close down the street to traffic so that the residents and mostly the children and families can just really be active.
So it could be a whole year? Or
So we do it in the summer. It tends to happen in the summer. And there's a lot of play streets in Manhattan and other parts of the boroughs. This is the first one actually that's happening in Woodside. Today was our last day. We had 5 play streets throughout this whole summer, and it was every Saturday. So it was a nice recurring event, and the same kids were coming out, and, you know, they were telling their friends and neighbors to come out. So today was a great day where a lot of kids were out just playing, you know, whether it was hula hoops or relay races or patintero or...
So what are the activities in winter?
Right. And so in the winter it doesn't happen because of the weather, of course, but in the summer it's great because the kids aren't in school, and so it's kind of like having recess in the summer, and it got a lot of popularity just because it was a recurring event, and the residents even got involved and helped with face painting or leading games. Like today they were playing Duck Duck Goose, and just all these fun games. And then for the adults there was yoga and Zumba and CrossFit. So all these fun activities.
Will you have Zumba after this one? Like, will you hold them in your office?
Right.
Or
So
free Zumba classes?
even before the play street, we had already been doing that. We had been offering, we still do, offer yoga, Zumba, martial arts, and cultural dance on different nights during the week as well as
Is
the
that free
weekend.
to the community? Like what?
Yeah,
how do
so
people
it's
find
a
out about
donation.
that?
I mean, we publicize it on social media, so on Facebook, it's out there, and then if for folks who just walk by our office, there's posters all in the windows that show the calendars. And I think that because of this play street and the community, you know, even beyond the Filipino community, has gotten more familiar with Kalusugan Coalition. Like just from the play street alone, our Zumba class doubled in size at the Kalusugan office. So it's great that it's gaining more popularity, and we've even recently been doing similar classes in Chinatown because we got a new little sub-grant that allowed us to expand to Chinatown.
In Chinatown, they have this elderly Chinese immigrants. They do Tai Chi and some really low-impact exercises out in the park. Do you see that happening within communities where there's a lot of Filipino Americans, like maybe Jersey City and Queens?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen, maybe there is a group out there that is doing Tai Chi in the Filipino community.
Not necessarily Tai Chi, but, you know,
or doing those types of activities.
Yeah, just some stretching
Yeah,
exercises.
Right. Well, at our office, at our office, you know, we work with one of our partners is a martial arts instructor, and he also teaches Tai Chi, and that is something that he wanted to start doing as a class in our office. But then I know in our community, a lot of Filipino community members like to do things that are very social. So line dancing is, I feel like one of the most popular ways, right, of getting
You don't
active.
do that in the park, do you?
Right. Well, not in the park. I mean, they were trying to bring it out to the play street outside, but sometimes, they need their music playing, so they'll do it a lot in the churches, right? So a lot of the churches,
That's nice.
the church halls after service, there's usually a line dancing class, and it's great because it brings a lot of people out, and it's a fun way, and they like to exercise in that way.
You mentioned earlier about affordable health care, or Obamacare, as most people call it. I remember when I came here, I was 20, and every money that I earned gets sent back home. So now with this new bill, doesn't everybody have to have health insurance?
Right.
So what if you can't afford it? Is there something that Kalusugan could help people like
Yes.
like me when I was 20?
So definitely, so that's a wonderful opportunity that's come our way, where we're part of this larger coalition of groups that received funding to become navigators. So navigators are folks who work at organizations like ours, who already have those relationships with the community and can help dispel a lot of those myths and help explain what does Obamacare mean for them, what does it mean, what types of options do they have for health insurance that are affordable. So as that program is beginning to roll out within these next 2 months.
Is that a federal program? Is that a federal program?
Right.
Obamacare.
So Obamacare is
No,
it's
not
a
Obamacare, the Navigator.
The Navigator.
The grant, like who's giving
it's
this grant?
So the New York State.
New York
Okay.
State.
So every so there's only certain states that that agreed to form their own version of the New York health benefit exchange, whereas some states like New Jersey, they opted to just get the federal version. It's a version of the health benefit exchange. So New York State and a lot of the advocacy work that groups, that coalitions that we're a part of have done has been to advocate that they ensure Asian American communities don't fall through the cracks. Like, what does Obamacare mean for Asian American communities? And a lot of that is related to language access and ensuring that this information gets out to them so in a culturally appropriate way, so that they know what their options are.
What is the biggest
what are the
myth?
options?
What is the biggest myth
Right.
in the Filipino American community about Obamacare?
About Obamacare, I mean, a lot of people think that it's just going to be so expensive, and okay, yes, there is the mandate, but that people don't realize that there's tax credits, that people are eligible for different,
That's interesting,
ways of it, making it affordable.
That's right.
We mentioned about Play Street earlier, and I was touched by one of the feedback from the community, because at Play Street there was a Spanish who was, even though he's not part of Filipino community, he was so happy that there's Play Street. So one of our tweets here at Makilala is we're going to have Woodside Play Street in the studio. So come and join us. We'll be showing you a special treat. The Play Street also, it was open to not just the Filipino community. It was, as I said, it was a Spanish lady that saw a little dance demo from Kinding Sindaw, and she was having fun and actually like a little form of exercise.
Right.
So I guess like Zumba and Play Street.
Yeah, definitely.
My name is Potri Ranka. I am the Artistic Director and founder of Kinding Sindaw Malayo Heritage. Today, I have Amira Aziza, who's going to demonstrate the Sagayan Napakat. It's a dance from the Maranao people of southern Philippines, which means reconciliation or friendship dance. So let's see the Makilala ladies with Amira Aziza heading them to dance with the fan and the scarf to show the friendship dance or reconciliation dance.
Guys, I can't believe we did that without rehearsing.
I
I know it's really hard to believe that, but we really didn't rehearse that before this.
At all.
I know. Thank you.
So I think we could contribute that to our instructor, Amira. Thank you for coming out here and joining us today.
Yeah, we want to say thank you to Kinding Sindaw, especially to Miss Potri. You can contact them at kindingsindaw.org. And of course, our special guest, Miss Rhodora Ursua. Thank you. Good to see you here. You can contact her at info@kalusugancoalition.org. We hope you learn as much as we did. You got it only takes 4 minutes to exercise or 30 minutes a day, and you're going to be fit. And you have to remember that being fit isn't just for us; it's for the people we love. And next month, don't forget, we have a discussion on voting and civic engagement. Our guest will be Ed Santos, candidate of New York City Council District 8, and Attorney Merit Salud, the chairman of NAFA Region 1 and FALDA's vice president. Special thanks to the cast and crew. Without you, we won't be here. And Ivy Joy for the wonderful flower arrangement. And of course, special thank you to our viewers. Maraming salamat po. Thank you very much. Am I forgetting something?
Yes. We just have to tell our audience that it takes only 3 minutes to start. Just 3 minutes a day to move your body. It's really
How do we do
very
it, Potri?
healthy.
Like
and
this?
I just want to show you something here at the back of Rhodora.
Oh.
It says, move your body, mind your heart, feed your soul. Move your body, mind your health, feed your soul. Now, this is the mantra of Kalusugan Coalition. And remember, 3 minutes only.
Yeah, so don't forget, tweet us your health tips and recipe at MakilalaTV, #Kalusugan. So uulitin po, until next time, here at Makilala, thank you very much. Goodbye.
Bye.